Jesse.
Here.
Mr. Kimbrough.
Here. Now, so Supervisor Kuntz informed the board that he would be unable to attend the meeting in person today, and he asked to be allowed to join the meeting electronically. Therefore, we must follow the Board of Supervisors policy and rules of procedure established for electronic participation in meetings due to a personal matter or disability. Supervisor Kuntz, why are you asking for approval to participate in this meeting electronically?
I'm doing a cultural exchange on behalf of myself in Nepal.
Thank you. The board must have a majority vote to approve Supervisor Kuntz's participation in the meeting by electronic means. All those in favor of allowing Supervisor Kuntz to participate by electronic means may have a roll call, please.
Mr. Harris,
Aye.
Mr. Williams,
Aye.
Mr. Jesse,
Aye.
Mr. Kimbrough,
Aye.
Mr. Kuntz. Do I
Abstain.
invite him?
We
Yes.
have a majority. Let the minutes reflect the reason for Supervisor Kuntz's participation by electronic means and his location of attendance with specifics, which is Nepal. Thank you very much, everybody. I would like to open with a prayer, and Supervisor Williams, would you please lead us in that?
Let us close our eyes. Oh, gracious God, our Father, we all come once again, Father, to come to this place which you allowed us to come. Father, thanking you for your love and your mercy. Father, now it's county business time. Father, go in our hearts and our heads and our mind, Father, that the decisions and the things that we do will show a blessing of your goodness. In Jesus' name, we all do pray. Amen.
Amen. Thank you. And Marie, would you lead us in the pledge of allegiance?
I will. Will you all please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. The first order of business is approval of the consent agenda. And I will entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda.
So moved. Seconded.
Motion by Mr. Harris, second by Mr. Jesse. I do have two comments about the consent agenda. One is in the MPPDC section of January 6th, Kurt's name needs to be spelled with a C instead of a K, and that will be corrected. The other is in that same section, the language reads that there is currently $750,000 set aside every year for dredging. And that is correct, but it could be interpreted that every year an incremental $750,000 is set aside, and that's not the case. It's just out of the county surplus funds, $750,000 has been earmarked for dredging. So there's not an incremental $750,000 every year. So I just wanted to add that explanation to make sure that it wasn't misinterpreted. Any other comments about the consent agenda? All right, may we have a roll call, please?
Mr. Williams,
Aye.
Mr. Jesse,
Aye.
Mr. Kuntz.
Aye.
Mr. Harris,
Aye.
Mr. Kimbrough.
Aye. Guess it takes a while for the electronics to go to the other end of the earth and back. Great, thank you. I'll now open the floor for public comment. Do we have anyone who has submitted a request?
There have been no submitted requests.
Would anyone from the public in attendance like to address the board? Thank you. I'll close the public comment period. Next is a report from constitutional officers, and I see We have you here today. Would you like to address the board?
Hey, Trace, you have to turn that mic on.
I just wanted to let you guys know that the refund checks shipped out yesterday. They hit the mail yesterday. So thank goodness. After lots of overtime and I just won't even try to explain the tedious details. But anyway, I did want to let you guys know that the printers told me it was like 5 o'clock yesterday afternoon that they went to the mailbox with the checks. So hopefully they'll be hitting soon.
That's inclusive of everybody.
Yes, it's 7,594 checks were issued. Yep.
Thank you so
So-
much for making that happen. And also, just to bring to everyone's attention, it's in the board packet that while you're doing that, as if you didn't have enough to do, you managed to begin putting excess cash to work and are currently at a rate of generating nearly $260,000 on an annual basis
Right.
of income to the county from putting that cash to work. So thank you very much for that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Did anybody have any other questions about the refunds or?
I got two questions
Okay.
for you. Well, actually, the first one's not really a question.
Mhm.
Thank you and your office for getting that completed.
Absolutely.
I assumed it was going to be longer than that. So that just
I did
shows,
too.
that shows how efficient your department is and how good of people that you have there, including your office may as
Absolutely.
well.
And IT with the county.
Right,
Glenn was
right.
awesome. So,
Cool. Well,
Yep.
thank you for all your efforts with that. My other question
Mhm.
was that the Board of Supervisors had chatted about a particular figure to be invested for the county. Could you confirm what that number was?
in reference to the refund,
No,
oh,
in reference to the money for earning additional interest
okay.
out there. And I think that was going to come from the reserve fund. Am I correct on that?
Fund balance.
Fund balance? Go ahead.
All right, so I invested 2 million with LGIP, which is local government investment pool
Okay,
at a 4.69
that's nice.
APR. We have had a $2 million money market account at Citizens and Farmers. And that has been, let's see, that APR has been increased to 2.25. I don't have on here what it was currently paying.
It wasn't anything, but go
Okay.
ahead.
1.7 CD that we had existing at CNF was paid 0.75, and I got that increased to 4%. And let's see, the money market account that's been at Truist for years, that's been, it was getting like 0.001.
Yeah,
I got to 2.25%. So,
great.
and then the refund money that I opened an account with, I did at Premise, and that's actually an interest bearing account. It's kind of low, but nonetheless, it's there. So
Great.
Yeah.
Thank you, Tracy.
You're
You've done a
welcome.
good job and we appreciate it.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Tracy. I remember you
Reggie?
standing, I remember you standing there in front and say, I'll get it done.
Yes, sir.
So you got it done and I'm thankful for that. And I'm glad that you're using funds that we done had set around for years
Mhm.
and to this money give it away. Thank you. I'm proud of what you have did.
Thank you.
Thank you once again.
Appreciate that.
If I may, Trace,
The treasurer's
So
report
much.
is
and my only question
Sorry.
is, would you mind providing the overtime that your department spent on this matter for the board to review?
I honestly would have to go over and sit down and try to get it all together. It's to do it in my mind. I can't do it and give you an accurate Yes. But I
Understood.
will,
Understood.
and I'll let you guys
Yeah.
know.
Thank you.
Okay? You're welcome.
All right, May, thank you for being here and for your good report in the packet. Next are agency and staff reports, the VDOT report, pages 61 through 63 in the packet. We have a mention of public hearing 6-year plan by Matt. Matt is
Yes,
here
yes,
remotely.
Mr. Chairman.
Correct? Can you hear
We
me?
have,
Matt?
yeah, I can hear you fine. We have a little bit of a delay. VDOT has asked for the board to consider holding a public hearing on the revisions to the upcoming new 6-year plan. I had recommended back to VDOT that we hold it on the same night as the April Board of Supervisors meeting. I think staff and VDOT are going to meet in between now and then to review the materials. And of course, we'll get the materials if there's any revisions or updates to it to the board. But my recommendation would be to hold the public hearing on the same day as your regular meeting.
Matt, this is Don. I have a question. I'm assuming that page 61, which shows all of the highlights that the VDOT is looking at. I don't see any dates. You said a 5-year plan. I don't see that any of these are dated in any particular order.
Yeah, what they refer to as the 6-year plan.
Although it does say,
Go ahead.
well, I was going to say, I did see where it said construction projects next 24 months, but yeah, you were going to comment about the 5-year plan versus a 24-month plan.
Yeah, I'm not going to comment very much because it's really their show and their story to tell. They're not with us today, apparently. And, every so often we have to upgrade or update the county's 6-year plan on secondary roadways and, the rural addition type funds. And we're due for such an update. I am looking through the packet, and I think what you have there may not be the entirety of the information they will need to get for your review and approval at the 6-year plan public hearing.
This is your plan in any of these documents. So that's to come prior to the April board meeting. But I agree, Matt. That sounds like reasonable calendar expectation to hold that at the April meeting. Is everybody okay with it?
I got another question. Matt, what is saying the retreatment routes, resurfacing routes, and they got routes down here with locations that's in 20, and I'm finding I don't know how they put put these routes on here and leave some of the ones out that really need care. And I was looking here tonight and looked like they're not here. I don't even know how some of these on here versus the other secondary roads, and some of them is going through subdivisions and 2 subdivisions, and these subdivisions going through on better roads than your second roads, and I can't see how they get the treatment in front of the other ones unless they're doing it. I don't know how they're doing it. I don't see it. These roads I travel and I ride over them every 5 days a week, and I can't see how at least 4 of them, which is resurfacing 2023, should be in front of some other roads that are cracking up in the middle. I don't, only thing I get is I know why they're not present when we start writing down things like this here.
Well, Reggie, I'll be honest,
And
I don't
guess nobody
exactly
looked
know
those
what
views,
kind
so
of
I
a
won't be
maintenance
asking
schedule.
questions if you did.
Yeah, I don't know how they derive a maintenance schedule and how they have the different roads scheduled for resurfacing or attention. Sometimes it doesn't make sense to me either, but they probably have these on some type of schedule and a tickler system that basically just pops them up and says it's time to give them some attention and resurfacing and whatnot. It's a question we can ask, and it's also a question that can be brought up during a public hearing on the 6-year plan, and have the VDOT staff kind of explain how they allocate the attention and the maintenance timing of different roads.
If you have routes that you see that are not on here that should be paid attention to, I would send that information over to Lee at VDOT.
Okay.
And I know he's been responsive before when we've tried to point out something. You know the roads better than anybody, right? Because you're traveling on them.
Yeah, I and my question really is, I hate to think how some of them got on there. Let me say it like that. Versus some of the roads that are cracking in the middle, which are secondary roads going through different areas. One of these only is going through a subdivision. I mean, this would be, it's almost laughable. Okay, it's almost laughable. Yes, I would like to know how they arrive at it.
All right, well, I encourage you.
Yeah,
to
but
send
I
your
would get
recommendation.
with him. Yeah.
Okay, any other comments? Thank you. Okay, school matters. Dr. Seitz, welcome.
Good afternoon. I just have one supplement request in your packet. It's located on page 64, I think. And that is a grant that we received for restraint and seclusion training. And what it'll do is train administrators or teachers in each of our buildings to then come back to the schools and train the appropriate staff for working with students. It might sound strange that we're having restraint and seclusion training, but it's needed for special techniques when working with students in certain situations. So it's a grant that we were applied for and received that we're asking you to appropriate.
I'll make the motion to approve FY 2023-30 supplemented budget request form.
I'll second it.
Motion by Mr. Harris, second by Mr. Jesse.
Mr.
Yeah.
Jesse?
Any discussion?
Oh, I was ready.
Okay, now roll call.
Mr. Jesse?
Yes.
Mr. Coons?
Aye.
Mr. Harris?
Aye.
Mr. Williams?
All right.
Mr. Kimbrough?
Aye. Motion carries. Thank you.
You're welcome. Any other questions about anything? Going one, going twice. Wait to hear.
Well, since you insist,
I don't want to leave if there's
it's
a
probably
question.
going to come in on our engineering report, but since you're here, have y'all contractually taken care of the request for the additional from HRSD, the additional property that was in question?
They are presenting an offer at this coming Monday's school board meeting. So that's in the packet, the revised plat, the appraisal, the offer, and someone will be there also to answer any questions that they have. And it is an action item on Monday evening's meeting.
Great, thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions? Thank you
All
so
right,
much.
thank you.
Next is social services report only. Packet pages 65 through 66. And next is a deed of easement for Hampton Roads Sewer District. Heather? This is
Yes.
page 67 in the packet.
Yes, sir. So as part of the HRSD project, and I think Jeremiah might be joining us. I'm not sure if he will be today, but nevertheless, in our partnership in working with HRSD has granted the water authority and the county use of its easement and the Hartfield pump station in an easement so that we can basically put in our pipes as well. And so that's what this deed is here. I'm asking for authorization for the chairman to sign. This has also been submitted to the water authority and it'll be on their agenda this month as well. And I did consult with both engineers for the authority and the county, and there was revisions made to the language to address those concerns. And I'm comfortable with the legal language. The engineers are happy. And I'll answer any questions you may have, but essentially they're allowing us to use their easement, which we need for our facility at no cost.
This
to
is
us.
for sewer infrastructure?
Yes, sir. But it would allow also if we needed to put, I know sewer and water can't always be in the same pipe, but we were trying to be thinking together.
Right.
And so, in the case the water authority could one day, we were just trying to manage all possible utilities that we might need in the easement.
Great. So I'll entertain a motion to approve this deed of easement.
I'll make that motion, deed of easement.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Jesse, second by Mr. Harris. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Coons,
Aye.
Mr. Harris,
Aye.
Mr. Williams, Mr. Jesse,
Aye.
Mr. Kimbrough.
Aye. There's just something about hearing the voice come down from the mountain that's just impactful. Next is the multi-state opioid settlement. And Heather, you have a resolution to
Yes.
propose, page 76.
Thank you. Yes, sir. So this is from the Attorney General's office, and this is just like the previous resolution this board adopted. We are hoping to get 100% participation, just as we did with the previous resolution. In short, another company is going through the bankruptcy process, and in order for Virginia to get a bite of that apple as part of that federal bankruptcy process, the number of localities that adopt this resolution and participate impacts the percentage of money Virginia as the whole state will get. So last time we got 100% and we're hoping to do it again. So this was prepared by the Attorney General's office. I did review it. I did not make any changes as this is what they have asked the board to consider. So I am seeking authorization for the administrator to sign.
Motion, resolution R 2023-04.
I'll second it.
Motion by Mr. Harris, second by Mr. Jesse. Any further discussion? We'll have roll call, please.
Mr. Harris,
Aye.
Mr. Williams, Mr. Jesse,
Aye.
Mr. Coons,
Aye.
Mr.
Aye. Motion carries. Thank you. Next, Matt, page 78 in the packet, the consociate media proposal contract.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I can't follow that. He needed a little reverb and would have pulled that off incredibly well. In your packet, you'll have the agreement for consociate media. Just as a quick update, the board had discussed at their retreat back in November, about the need for the county to have a more robust, stronger social media presence, celebrating our successes and putting out useful information to kind of quell rumors and this, that, and the other. And we finally got an RFP out on the street for these types of services. In January, we reviewed the RFPs. We interviewed the one respondent we received was Consociate Media, interviewed the prospect by committee, and the committee's recommendation was to move forward with Consociate Media. I think many people on the board may be familiar with Stephanie Heinz. She currently does a great deal of work for the Middle Peninsula Planning District Commission, very similar style, very similar scope of work she does for them. She's proposing to do for us. We thought it would be beneficial if we go down this road to bring Consociate on board till the end of June and then kind of renegotiate for a longer, more annualized contract if it's something the board saw some benefit from. Recollection from the discussion on the during the retreat and on subsequent meetings, the board thought it may be useful for us to have a little bit more positive, a little bit more, what's the word I'm looking for? Progressive type of outreach efforts to the community in light of the number of large projects we've got going on, and the ability just to kind of make sure that if there's some erroneous information going around on social media, that at least people who are familiar with our webpage or our social media presence rather, can link back to those posts to, answer questions or kind of remove some of the alarm if there is any. I am here along with the committee. Several people on the committee are in attendance who interviewed the prospect to answer any questions you may have. But you have a copy of the contract in your folder, and looking for authorization from the board to execute this interim contract.
Mr. Chairman, I apologize. In reviewing this contract, I see I left a blank still in the packet and I meant to fill it in. On page 2 of the contract, it's page 79 of the packet. Any motion, if this is to be approved, should be the flat fee of $4,500. I apologize. I left that blank there and I meant to, anyway, that was an oversight on my part. It should have had the number written in. So we would want to make sure the motion included the correct amount. Apologize for that.
Thank you. We have a motion. Would you like me to speak to this before we?
So moved.
So if John made a motion, is there a second? So we're not ready for a second, apparently. I'll just make a couple of introductory comments that might be useful. As we discussed during our retreat, one of our challenges is we have so many projects going on between water, sewer, sheriff's office, school rebuild, and our routine of trying to step up our economic development efforts. The ability to communicate well is invaluable, and it's a huge challenge. And I just recall the calls that I got of confusion about when we have tried to make accommodations to citizens, for example, extending the due date for the real estate tax that was due last June. We moved to August for a reason. Not everybody heard that. Not everybody understood it. Even more confusing was the effort that we made to extend and then provide a rebate for the personal property tax that happened in December. Not everybody is on social media. Not everybody is reading every page of the Southside Sentinel. And even if they do, they may not understand it well. We don't have an active communication effort taking place. With all that we have going on, I think it would be extremely valuable for our citizens and for the board to have professional management of our outbound communications, to enhance our communication channels by participating in certain social media vehicles, which we're not doing now because you have to pay attention to it. You have to work it. You have to know how to do it. We have our website is being managed on sort of a part-time basis by our volunteers, but without a proactive development of content that's aimed at communicating robustly what it is that we're undertaking. So there's just a lot of communication opportunity that will help citizens understand what we're doing, what their opportunities are, and will help us proactively. And one example of where I think this will be extremely helpful is, if you recall, when we went out to the water potential customers, this was, I don't know, 8 years ago, when we started having town halls about putting in water infrastructure. There were a number of potential subscribers who weren't available for the town hall. How do we reach out to those people? How do we answer their questions? It goes on and on and on. We're about to undertake the same for a sewer initiative. And that's what's behind this request to add a professional outbound media and communications service to what we have to offer the citizens. So I feel like the timing is right and that this would be an important addition to our outbound communications. So I'll ask again, is there a motion?
Can I ask a question, or are we gonna,
You can always second
Um,
so that there can be discussion, Don.
well, I'm not willing to offer a second at this point until I find a little more information out. I agree with everything that our chairman just spoke about and the need to be better transparent to the community. On this proposal, and maybe I'm not sure who I'll refer to, so I'll just throw it out there. It says project pricing, flat fee of, and that's left blank. Is that where the 4,500 was supposed to go in?
Yes, sir, it was, yes. Mhm.
And-
And then
And I'm assuming that the 45 was the 50% at 22.50 upon execution of the agreement and 50% 22.50 upon delivery. Is that, am I correct on that?
yes, sir, it's the $4,500 for the audit and communications plan, and then the additional monthly fee.
And then after that, it says reoccurring retainer will be invoiced on a monthly basis of 6,000. Is there any time constraint on this agreement at all? Other than the termination that I saw in here, that the agreement could be terminated, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
Yes, sir. My understanding, and I reviewed this, but I was not the negotiator of this, is this agreement will terminate automatically on June 30th, 2023. But if we wished prior to terminate, or if the vendor wished it prior, either party could terminate prior to June. So this is set for just a couple of months. Was that 3 months? April, May, June? Yes, sir. So it's a 3-month.
So just to put you on the spot, so what's the math on that?
Okay. Feel free to jump in anytime.
If it's for March, April, May, and June, that's 4 months at $6,000 a month. So that's $24,000
Plus 4,500,
plus 4,500.
$28,500.
Go ahead. You got a question?
Yeah, I got a, you have Southside Sentinel here, they put it out and what I'm saying, what other avenues you going? We have the internet, we Zoom in here, and also, not Zooming, but it's on YouTube. All right, and then also there's what other avenues is she gonna go to? I mean that she's gonna put out there to spend this money when we do always have some avenues, and then we have the people that work for us that can put out, and then sometimes you have town hall meetings. That's what it's all about, and Matt getting the word out. I mean, what other avenues is she gonna do that that's gonna make people to fill up rooms? Put it that way. And it's about just getting the information out. Now, it's up to you if you're interested, if you want water, sewer, or whatever. It's up to you to decide if you want water or sewer. Now, we're going to get somebody in here going to pay $28,000 for a year.
No, for
4 months.
4 months.
I mean, times are tight, and a lot of things are through YouTube and internet now. I mean, I know like a lot of people not with that right now, but you got a lot that are on it. And I think the people that have sewer water right now, they know they're gonna have to have sewer. So if they're gonna need that information, they look on our website, they look through the Southside Sentinel. We got Larry right back there, and we're gonna pay more money for this lady gonna do. What is she gonna do? Is she gonna get out and go door to door?
You tell me what she's gonna do. That's gonna make more people be knowing what's going on in the county. Cause I can tell you, most people, if they're interested in something, they'll be here. Very seldom we have this room full, not unless something that somebody don't like. Other than that, they're sitting back doing whatever they want to do. And I can't personally, I'm just telling you, just Wayne, just one person. I can't personally see spending that much money when we have avenues already here. And those people that are not interested in it, they're not gonna be interested in it. People that are gonna be interested, they're gonna find a way to look at all these other options. That's just me.
I think it also comes down to some timing as well, of what you're trying to promote. And the sewer water the sewer project is still projected out several years, 25, correct?
Thereabouts.
Thereabouts. So, my opinion at this point is it probably is premature. And my suggestion would be we table this till the next meeting and have more discussions about whether we need it now or whether we're going to need it later, or, you know, what the case may be with that. So I agree with you, Wayne. I think I'd prefer to wait on this and not make a decision today.
Williams?
Gotta look at ourselves and keep on hiring somebody else, saying maybe we all can do a better job of communication. So it seems like everything's at the very top. So I can't see myself spending $80,000. We said to June, if you don't look at, we'll be spending another $6,000 a month till the next check. So I'm not even looking at the $28,000 or $32,000. I can't see it. I just can't see it.
So I don't second. And what I hear is a request to table this.
Is there a motion to table?
I'll make the motion to table it.
Is there a second?
Second it.
Any further discussion? All right, can we roll call?
Okay, this is a roll call to table this item.
Correct.
Got it. Mr. Williams,
Yes.
Mr. Jesse,
No.
Mr. Coons,
Yes.
Mr. Coons,
Aye. Aye.
Mr. Harris,
Aye.
Mr. Kimbrough.
Aye. Motion's tabled. Thank
And
you.
Mr.
gentlemen.
Chairman, if I may, I have one question. If the primary concern is the amount of compensation for the services, I could reach back and see if they can sharpen a pencil a little bit before the next meeting.
I think, Matt, I think it would be more responsive to have their representative to answer some of the open questions that have been posed here.
Okay,
we
very good.
can talk about that. Okay,
Okay.
thank you. All right. Next is the EDA, Mr. Funkhauser.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. You have a resolution before you that we're requesting on behalf of the EDA that the Board of Supervisors establish a local VA 250 commission. Some of y'all may or may not be familiar with this. I've spoken with a few about this to one extent or another. That is the commemoration throughout Virginia for 2023 to 2025. It's being handled by the Jamestown Yorktown Foundation, but it's a state sanctioned commission, and they're asking everybody to establish local committees. At this point on the Middle Peninsula, Gloucester and King William and Matthews have one. Essex does not. I don't know if they're in the works. And to my knowledge, King and Queen has not established one yet. We're seeking this as your kind of arm for tourism and economic development. And what we're proposing is to kind of make it easier in terms of staff support is have a 5-member committee that would be the 3 land-based museums, if you will, in Urbana, Deltaville, and here in Saluda, the Colonial Seaport Foundation and the Heritage Committee. And I've spoken with those representatives over the past couple months in preparation for doing this with the EDA and the board. They would select their own representatives because I certainly would not like to do that. But I would work with those 5 members and forward those names if the board will be so kind to approve this resolution today. I'll forward those names to the state to be the official committee. And then, of course, we'll have lots of folks that will be unofficial working members, you know, folks like Larry Tuning and other folks who certainly have a great knowledge. But to have an official group, I thought it would be best to kind of do it by categories. And that fits nicely with what we have going on here. Thankfully, we don't have 20 or 30, perhaps in the future. But again, we just ask your indulgence to approve that resolution, and we can move forward with advising the state that we do have a committee, and I can have an initial kickoff meeting with the groups once they solidify who their representatives are. I have some tentative names from each of the groups, if anyone's interested in that, but until those were officially provided to me, I'd rather hold off on that. And I don't want to get too far ahead of my skis. I don't know if anybody has any
Sure,
questions.
yeah, I
or
like to say,
comments.
I just
sir.
like to make sure, you know, that the EDA be sure that, you know, it's all inclusive, you know, all nationalities and make it fair and
Correct.
regional in all regions of the county too.
Yes, sir.
And just to make sure that, you know, when you do the select, be sure you keep that in mind.
Yes, sir. Because some of the brainstorming we've had, like I had a good conversation with Ms. White this morning, Besida White, talked to Ms. Satterfield about this previously. Again, once we get officially rolling, again, this kickoff, I want to invite as many people as possible because a lot of people have ideas on events they'd like to do. And then I'm going to have to ride herd on, okay, what do we do with that event? Who's going to support it? How are we going to? So again, there's going to be lots of working subcommittees, if you will, and all are welcome, you know, because we want to make the most out of this. And we've got some pretty unique history here. A lot of people don't know about, including myself.
We do indeed have a lot of history here. Trent, would you inform in this committee, how does that maybe speak to it a little more in depth briefly?
Sorry.
The Jamestown committee. So if we were to set up the committee,
Yes, sir.
okay, we still would have autonomy of what we want to do or not do, or is that directed somewhere else?
None of that is dictated by the state. So we would have the ability to get a custom logo that has our name in it, you know,
Right.
free of charge, because they can just do that digitally real quick. We get access to a dedicated web page on their site. We get access to a lot of resources and ideas, but they're not requiring, you could do one event, one press release, have one museum day, or you can do something every day for the next 2 years. So yes, that's a good question. None of it is dictated. They'll have a mobile display that we'll be able to stand in line for, that the schools or the museums might be able to use, or have it at some event in Urbana or Deltaville if they've got a, you know, an event going on, and we can get that down here. So there's a lot of details that we'll be exploring over the next couple of months. There's a conference actually this weekend that's free that I'm registered to attend over in Williamsburg, and I'll have a better handle on kind of what some other localities are doing, but people are already doing things on that state website. And then Mr. Jesse had asked me briefly when we had a brief conversation about this, about grants. While it's kind of handled by the Jamestown Yorktown Foundation, the Virginia Tourism Corporation is doing their usual twice-a-year grant cycle. So we've missed spring, but we'll be able to apply for some publicity or whatever advertising in the fall. I don't know if that answers your question.
Well, actually, thank you very much. I didn't have to ask the question because that was going to be the next question.
Right.
So thanks for following up with that information as well. With that, unless there's any other questions that anybody wants to ask, I'll make a motion for the resolution.
I'll second it.
Motion by Mr. Harris, second by Mr. Jesse. Any further discussion? Okay, roll call, please.
Mr. Coons,
Aye.
Mr. Harris,
Aye.
Aye.
Mr. Williams,
Uh,
Mr. Jesse,
Aye.
Mr. Kimbrough.
Aye.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you. Next is Charlie Beam, the county engineer update.
We'll start with the airport and with the B&P best management practices. I'd like to introduce Wayne Savage for those of you who don't know.
Thank you, Charlie. Good afternoon, to the board. So I'm just update you about the BMP maintenance agreement for the airport. As you know, that project was completed earlier this past fall. As part of that project, there was several BMPs that were installed. Some of which are hardly noticeable. They're along the runway. They're just in the swales. The other, which is a really small detention pond off to the right side of the runway, if you will, as you're looking towards the river. As part of that process and with DEQ, we have a VSMP. That permit must be terminated or to proceed forward. In order to terminate that permit, we need it with the BMP maintenance agreement. Some of you may be familiar with. It's required on all projects, VSMPs that have BMPs a part of. The county attorney has already been reviewed it and has some minor suggestions and revision with DEQ. But anyway, we're just on terminating the permit, and that's just one of the check boxes we must check. So that's got to be recorded and with the clerk's office signed and notarized by the county administrator as well as DEQ. So that's where that stands. If you have any questions, happy to answer them.
And just for clarification, Mr. Chairman, staff is seeking authorization for this to be executed today with the caveat subject to legal review. I've already reached out. It's a very, and I think we'll get it resolved. We've had a similar BMP. We've worked with DEQ and indemnification language. We just can't do that as a political subdivision. And DEQ knows that. So, and I've already talked to Wayne about it. So we'll get that ironed out. But with the approval, we ask that that be added to the motion, please.
I'm trying to thumb through a bunch of papers. What is the resolution we're talking about? 2023-03?
No, sir. It's page 106 of your packet. It's a stormwater maintenance facility maintenance agreement. Oh, stormwater management facility maintenance agreement. Say that 4 times fast. Essentially what this is, and Wayne, you can probably, it's very run of the mill. I mean,
Right.
we have to agree to maintain these stormwater facilities. And DEQ has a standard form they like to use, and they don't like to deviate from it, but we're a political subdivision, and so we have to have a little bit of deviation was my only point. I don't have any substantive changes as to the maintenance requirements or anything like that.
I'll make the motion.
I move that we,
Go ahead. Go right ahead.
I move that we approve this in support of closeout of the project.
Second.
And that would be subject to some legal clarification about indemnification, correct?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Can I also clarify for the typing of the minutes? BMP is best,
Best management practice.
okay. And that's the agreement that we're signing right now, that we're.
It's a stormwater management maintenance agreement.
Any further discussion? Okay, may I have roll call, please?
Yes. Mr. Harris,
Aye.
Mr. Williams,
Yes.
Mr. Jesse,
Aye.
Mr. Coons,
Aye.
Mr. Kimbrough.
Aye. Motion carries. Thank you.
Wonderful, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Wayne. Appreciate it. I also have a couple of other items with regards to the airport. One is the planting plan, which is part of closing out that project with Virginia Department of Aviation. We worked very closely with Mr. Perkison, along with the nursery. We actually selected the plants. They were actually placed and planted today. They should be finished today, although they still have a few other things they do to clean it up. But for the most part, I believe that's been taken care of. I'd like to thank Mr. Perkison for his time effort and helping us assistance in that effort. The second item is our AWAS system. We had a temperature probe that malfunctioned. I've contacted the Department of Aviation from Virginia Commonwealth. They have a maintenance agreement, a 95-5 agreement, where they will pay 95% of maintenance cost, which this is considered, to replace that probe. So we've got a contractor that's coming in hopefully before the end of the week to get that repaired. So that's all I have for the airport.
Got it.
Okay, moving on, wastewater connection fees. Gentlemen, last Board of Directors meeting, we had presented and you had approved moving forward with the design for phases 1, 2, and 3 of Deltaville, as well as for the topping facility. As part of that, we want to start holding, as we discussed, town hall meetings and introducing the community, similar to what we did with the water system, introducing them to the plans, routing of the piping, educating them, if you will, of what it's going to take to complete the project. For us to do that, we need to finalize the connection fees. I had made a presentation, I think it was back in November of last year, I want to say, where we had presented a $10,000 connection fee, mirroring the water authority's model, if you will. And Mr. Harris, I apologize. I owe you some information. I have an email that I thought I had sent, but I did not, addressing your concerns and comments with regards to that spreadsheet that I provided. So I'll make sure I get that to you. But I request that we, a motion that we set $10,000 connection fee as the cost for tying in.
One clarification that would
Yes,
be
sir.
helpful for you to make. With the water authority, we had a $10,000 connection fee. However, when we were initially soliciting people to enroll early on, essentially make a commitment in advance of availability, we offered discounted incentives.
That's correct.
And so it would be helpful if you clarified that setting this standard rate does or does not preclude the opportunity to provide incentives at discounts.
Thank you for asking that question. It does not. We're presently waiting to hear back from the various organizations. We've applied for grants and loans. Once we find out how much we've actually received and what we're eligible for, that will give us a better idea of what our incentives can be. But until we know what the connection fee is going to be, we can't put that together yet. As you and I has discussed, there's several things, several blocks that we have to place before we can get to that point. So this thing's done.
So I will entertain a motion to adopt the $10,000 connection fee.
And Mr. Chairman, if I may, it's not just the $10,000 connection fee, it's the schedule of fees as it's presented. I think that's located in your packet. The 10,000 collection fee or connection fee is the standard fee for the typical residential user. But depending on the water usage and the meter size, the connection fee will go up.
There's no other
It's not,
alternative scheduled in the packet. It just.
Yep, I apologize. That wasn't included.
So
Maybe we can
We
pull
don't
the
have-
schedule
we don't
of
have any-
fees up from a previous meeting.
Yes, we can do.
do you know where it is?
I know.
Charlie, I think he presented that back in January.
Yeah,
Would it be in minutes from our meeting?
it would be in the packet.
Packet from
Tammy, that's
last
gonna.
meeting?
Oh, from the, I think it was November meeting. It was presented.
Matt, are these the same fees that we've been looking at since the inception of the water authority?
I think they're slightly different, but it's basically a graduated connection fee, very similar to the water authorities. So the partial yes answer to that, John.
Yeah, understood. Thanks, Matt.
Okay,
So I'm looking up the November packet now, so bear with me.
all right, November. I'm gonna try to pull it up on here. Do you know what date it was?
It's the November meeting, page 64.
Page 64.
November, right? Okay,
I think I got it.
Yeah, that was a cost spreadsheet that had all the different counties and cities and
Come on now.
the fees. Mhm. Bingo.
But this says 12,000.
Yeah, it was actually changed to 10.
so this proposal replaces the 12,000 that we're looking at now with 10,000?
Yes, sir. If you'll recall during that meeting, I think Matt had made the recommendation. I recommended 12. Matt recommended that we follow or mirror the water authorities model and suggested 10,000. So we've settled for 10,000.
Okay, are the
Agreed
other,
on, I should say. Sorry.
would the others be the same as shown here?
Yes. Yes, sir.
And
So-
Mr. Chairman, just a quick note, if you adopt these and want to make further changes, you can. Until we really get out and start soliciting for subscribers, the board's got some flexibility with what they want the rates and connection fees to be. So, but it would be very helpful to have a schedule of fees or a schedule of connection fees in particular. When we go to public hearings and when we go to town hall meetings, it's one of two questions everyone's going to ask is when am I going to be able to get it and how much is it going to cost?
Okay, so the requested motion would be to accept the fee schedule that replaced the 12,000 with 10,000 and the other fees being the same. Is that
Yes, sir.
correct?
That is
Do you want to
correct.
just read those just for the record and those that are listening?
Yes, for a 3/4 connection, we've revised it from 12,000 to 10,000. For a 1-inch connection would be 20,000. For a 1.5-inch connection would be 35,000. For a 2-inch connection would be 60,000. For a 3-inch connection would be 124,000. I don't think we have anything higher than that anywhere in the county. And of course, you can see where the other cities and or counties where they fall within the price range there.
Okay,
Mr. Harris, that's where I owe you the additional information for, I believe it was Surrey and for West Point.
all right. So we need a motion to accept these as the standard connection fee schedule at this point in time.
Yes, sir.
Let me
So
ask
moved.
one more question. I second.
I rescind my motion in favor of Don Harris's question.
Okay. So conceptually, when would people have the ability to pay for the connection fee?
Well, initially they could pay it right up front, or as we've talked about, there would be incentives to where similar to the water authority, their model, prorated over a certain amount of time. And again, the system will not come online until probably 2025. And we are relying on HRSD for that. So even if we have our subsystems and their subsystems together, the systems won't be fully operational until probably late 25, early 26. So Yeah, we have incentives. They've got time.
But it would be encouraged, and Matt, maybe you would want to weigh in on this as we've discussed and take what we learned from the Water Authority. Were you asking about whether it would be like half up and then half then, like?
Well,
I think the thought was this time around, the whole balance is due. When you
Okay.
sign up.
No, that wasn't my question.
Okay, sorry.
You know,
I think I-
with a 25,
Yeah, Don, I think I got the gist
Go
of
ahead.
what you were asking. When someone would be allowed to sign up would be after the board is 100% sure they're moving forward with the system. Y'all pushed Deltaville and Topping to final design. We should have that completed relatively soon on Topping, and the final design, I think you have a copy of the Gantt chart in your packet along that time frame. I would say the board would start soliciting for connections or subscribers, however you'd want to refer to them, when you know for sure you're building the project. Because we wouldn't want to refund someone's connection fees if for whatever reason we get some kind of weird turn in the road and the costs go dramatically higher, and or the board decided they wouldn't deploy the system for one reason or the other. It would require refunds if we had to do that. So I would say we start town hall meetings when the board is pretty much 100% confident they're moving forward with that particular system. And keep in mind, we have Saluda and Hartfield coming in pretty quick too. So it would be my desire if the board decided, yes, we're moving forward, we're going to deploy sewer here and say Topping, let's use that as an example. We start soliciting for those the month after that and have a town hall meeting or two with the documents and everything ready to go for a property owner or a business owner to connect to sewer. And Heather is correct. We've discussed this, I think, with several board members in the office. This is one of those situations where the system is being deployed basically on the full faith and credit of the board of supervisors in Middlesex County. There is no pay now, half, pay later, half. It's if you want it, sign up now, pay it all, and you'll be connected. If you don't, you're free not to connect. We still do not have mandatory connections, nor is it anyone's recommendation that we move towards those. So I hope that answers your question, Don. It's really when the board is definite on deployment, that's when my team starts shaking the tail feather and we start having town hall meetings and engaging with the public who want to connect. I don't know how many times Charlie gets it during the week, but at one point in time when we were just closing up the water system, I was getting 4 or 5 calls a week asking me when sewer was going to be made available. So the public, at least in the deployment areas, are very interested, it seems.
maybe you can address this, Matt or Charlie. My only concern is because I believe that we ran into a little bit of issue with the water project in that we'd offered early payment scheduled at one price. And then as we got closer to the rollout, it went to another price. I have that concern in saying 10 or 12 or whatever number that you want to throw out there. I have a little bit of concern based on what the actual cost may come in if we agree to 10,000 and now all of a sudden we see that it needs to be 12,000. The heartache and the problem and the backlash and the errors being thrown that, well, you said this and now it's this. So I guess my question is, are we premature in setting that number at this juncture? And is setting that number at this juncture just to have a talking point and a number talking point at some later date with subscribers to the program? Does that make sense? If y'all want to elaborate
that
on
makes
that,
sense.
I'd be willing to hear it.
Yeah, that makes sense, Don. I'll let Charlie take a crack at it and then I can too.
Well, yeah. Again, looking at what we've got to accomplish, the information that we're still waiting for as far as grants and loans, how much money we expect or anticipate coming in, total cost of the project, and the fact that it's voluntary, we're hoping that we'll get as many people to sign up as we did for water, potentially even more. That's why, as part of one of the grants, we applied for up to 1,000 grinder pumps. We're hoping we'll have at least 1,000 people within the county that will sign up for the system. That leads us to the calculations with regards to 12 versus 10. The cost is going to be, I mean, we know we're going to spend $42 million. That's based on the fact that the board approves the complete installation of the system. If not, we'll know it's going to be less. So based on those numbers, between $10,000 and $12,000, we should be able to cover that cost.
Yeah, and I'll piggyback on that a little bit. Thanks, Charlie. Don, the connection fee is the county's cost to connect to its sewer system. And I don't want to say it like this, but it's not really designed to recover, in many cases, all of the costs to provide service to that one property owner. It's not prorated like that. It's basically just an amount that a homeowner would pay. Or let's say a new subdivision came in Deltaville for whatever reason and needed a sewer. Well, then we give them the connection fee of $10,000 per residence to connect to sewer. Not to be confused with an availability charge, which is maybe an additional fee to the base connection fee for extraneous circumstances where maybe a line's got to be extended a few hundred yards to get a property service or something along that line, or it's located just off the deployment of our existing lines and capital assets, and there's an additional fee for service for that business or homeowner to have to pay. For instance, what may come into being if the business or homeowner is on the opposite side of the road from the sewer line, and it may cost more to bore under that particular road to provide service. So I think that gets at what you were asking. One fundamental, I think, point though that needs to be reiterated. If we get the grants, we're going to be covering some of the cost for the property owner for the E1 grinder pumps. If we're not successful in getting that grant, then the property owner covers those costs. So the very large variable there in terms of how much it will cost to connect is borne by the homeowner anyway, in and above the 10,000 connection fee.
Yeah, the whole intent of that was to minimize the cost, out-of-pocket expense for the property owners. So,
Charlie, Greg may have, I'm not clear whether you might have comments that would be helpful to help Charlie supplement his comment.
If you don't mind, yeah, Matt sort of
To
went
come up
there.
to the,
Sorry, Charlie.
I know, only the best tuner can say.
Matt sort of went there a little bit, and I'll just say it, okay? If you look at the water system, when we started, we committed $29.5 million to serve 488 people, okay? Do the math. We spent over $60,000 per customer. So the $10,000 connection fee, which we discounted to 4 to encourage people to hook up, was a very small part of the project, okay? The key, and I'll argue for Lud's point on social media and the importance of getting the message out there. The key is getting that number at a point where people will hook up, because now the water system has 717 customers, and we may have gotten one more today. You take that same $29.5 million, spread it over 717 customers, and now you're talking 41,000. So you went from above 60 to 40 just by getting customers. The key to doing this, in my mind, is to get it communicated incredibly well, and get everybody that needs it to understand that it's available and hook up and get your per capita, per customer cost down. Anybody watch Shark Tank? What does Mark always ask? What's your customer acquisition cost? That's $6,000. $6,000 is nothing if you acquire one more customer for sewer that's going to help you pay off that debt over the long term. So that's what I wanted to say. It's really about getting customers. The connection fee is a small part of the game. It's really about liquidating the debt that you're taking on over a long capital base. Get to 5,000 water customers, it only costs us that 29.5 becomes 6,000, instead of 40,000 now. We got to get the numbers of customers up, and that means communicating and getting people to do this. Matt and I did a lot of town halls with Chip. I look back on it, the fact that we went from 488 to 717 after the fact tells me that town halls were not the way to do it. So that's what I wanted to say. Does that help?
Thanks.
And just a side note, that is your 2023 Pride of Middlesex, Greg Chambers. Thank you very much, Greg.
Congratulations.
Don, further questions?
I couldn't have said it better.
So as I understand, we had a motion from Mr. Kuntz, seconded by Mr. Harris.
Yes. That's correct.
There further discussion about adopting the schedule?
Let me just ask it one more time. So at some point in this whole process, if we decide, because this is not particularly a resolution, it doesn't appear to me to be. So with that, and with the sewer not currently being under authority, we still will have the ability to tweak that number if we need to tweak it one way or the other.
Yes, sir.
Correct?
That's correct.
Okay, thank you.
Absolutely. And you're still able to provide incentives if you choose to.
Right. Any other discussion? We have a roll call, please.
Mr. Williams,
Yes.
Mr. Jesse,
Aye.
Mr. Kuntz,
Aye.
Mr. Harris,
Aye.
Mr. Kimbrough.
Aye. Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen. Moving on to the wastewater quarterly updates. Did Jeremiah make it? Okay, I guess we won't get an update from HRSD, so we'll go with our county engineer, Timmons. Kim.
While Anne Marie's pulling up the presentation, I'd like to thank Chairman and the members of the board for letting me present this evening. I had a couple comments from some prior discussion. With respect to this capacity charge that HRSD has referenced for the sewer connection fee, the county has a monthly call with HRSD, and our last monthly call with HRSD, I wanted to clarify with the folks that administer the capacity charge with HRSD that they have a clause that if a residential customer connects to the county sewer system, HRSD will waive that $4,210 capacity that only applies to residential customers. And in our call this month, I asked that with Charlie present on the call. That's in their billing and rates policy, and it's also included in the PER for both Topping and Deltaville. It's on, I believe, the last page of both of those. So that's another discount the residential customers who connect to the sewer system will receive if they're connecting to the county sewer system and they're getting off of septic. So that's another benefit of deploying the system, going from septic to a county system. This is an update.
One question. You said that HRSD gonna get $4,000 toward somebody that hook up in Mill Six toward the septic system. Is that a direct cost, that they would pay less, where the money is going?
If it's an existing customer that's on septic and is connecting to the county system, HRSD will waive that cost. If the county sewer system comes through the county and somebody says, oh, there's water and sewer available, I want to build a house, that fee will not be waived. It's just for existing customers who are abandoning septic and connecting to the county sewer system. So any new development will be subject to those fees from HRSD.
And can you, just to clarify, so if we have a $10,000 connection fee
Yes.
in the county, does that $4,000 HRSD credit affect that number?
No,
That's
if a new property owner wants to build a house, he has to pay the county connection fee plus the HRSD capacity fee. But if it's an existing customer that's on septic and they want to abandon septic and get on the county sewer system, HRSD waives that fee. That's for single family residential. It doesn't apply to commercially zoned property, to Grays Point Campground, to the marinas, restaurants, or anything like that. It's just for single family residential. So that's another cost savings for the residents.
So the question that I don't know, I think I'm trying to understand, it's either gonna cost $14,000 if you don't have it, or it's gonna cost $6,000 with the $10,000 off. How do your $4,000 fit in?
4,000 is an addition to the $10,000. 10,000 is the county.
So you'll waive that regardless.
HRSD will.
So HRSD gonna charge you $4,000 if it's a new subdivision.
Yes,
So that'll be $14,000 to hook up.
correct, for sewer.
Okay.
Is that your understanding, Charlie, from the meeting? Yeah, this is just an update for the sewer system. Next slide. As we have worked to fine tune the limits of the deployment of the sewer system and topping, this exhibit shows what we had originally proposed in the first PER that we submitted for the topping sewer system. In negotiations with HRSD, the line of demarcation for where the county would extend the HRSD interceptor was determined to be 2 miles from the terminal pump station that was located within the service area. Exhibit and the original scope of work was defined. In developing this PER, I coordinated with HRSD's consultant, Kimley Horn. They indicated to me that the connection on the interceptor and General Puller Highway was going to be on the west side of Grays Point Road. So I had established the alignment for the sewer force main to leave the terminal pump station near the airport and follow the west side of Grays Point Road. That was before we got the as-built for the water system. We got the as-built for the water system and realized that the water line was installed closer to the edge of the right of way. And that prompted us to move to the other side of the road. And then subsequent to that, late last year, HRSD said they had not authorized Kimley Horn to extend the sewer from General Puller Highway down to Locust Grove. And there was an agreement made between the county and HRSD to extend the HRSD interceptor up to Locust Grove Road. And that was the amendment that y'all approved in one of the recent board meetings. And in conjunction with the funding for the topping system, we've applied for a loan from the Virginia Clean Water Revolving Loan Fund. We had talked with them about submitting a request for a categorical exclusion, because the majority of the pipe was going to be installed within what we considered previously disturbed right of way. In lieu of doing a categorical exclusion, DEQ may require the completion of an environmental assessment, which is a much more lengthy environmental document to identify potential purpose and need impacts and other things associated with the construction of this project. When we talked with Mike Crocker about the categorical exclusion, he said he didn't think it would apply to this job because the pump station was on previously undisturbed property near the airport. That was a 1 acre site. And so he suggested that we submit the previously developed environmental assessment that was done for the water system, since the alignment and a lot of the purpose and need and impacts were consistent with what
the construction and implementation of the sewer system would be. So we submitted that to DEQ, and we had a couple meetings with Deanna Hill subsequent to that submission. Concurrently with her review of the environmental assessment that we submitted that was done for the water system, they were reviewing the HRSD environmental assessment for the overall impacts of the project in the county. And DEQ came back and said that we would need to do an environmental assessment for the topping system, primarily because of the pump station. And in addition, the changes to the regulations associated with the long-eared bat. Its designation is going to be changed from threatened to endangered, most likely on April 1st. And that's going to create a time of year restriction for clearing from April 1st to November 15th, unless you do a long-eared bat survey. And if you want to embark on that, the folks that are experienced with that are going to be in high demand after April 1st. And I, for one, don't want to go around at night looking for long-eared bats. I couldn't even tell the difference between a brown bat. So that's another wrinkle that has come up since we have embarked on this. Another little
I'm
piece of red
sorry.
tape in addition to the environmental system.
I'm sorry. I'm actually curious on what a long-haired bat looks like. So I really want to go around and look for one.
Long-eared bat, yeah. Yeah, it's a bat with longer ears. It's going to be endangered. It's real, and it's going to affect every construction project in the Commonwealth of Virginia. So next slide. So this was the original alignment. The next slide shows what we have come up with, and we're revising the PER to show this. We have moved the force main to the opposite side of the road. Our surveyors were out today doing LIDAR on Graves Point Road. Some of you may have seen a Timmons car riding around with a little probe looking thing on it. We're doing LIDAR in this area. We're going to use the same technology in Deltaville. So there's going to be a lot more surveying done in Deltaville in the weeks ahead, and then we'll develop that survey. A couple key points is that the alignment that is in conjunction with our design is extending from the terminal pump station. It's crossing General Puller Highway, and it's going to follow the east side of the right-of-way on General Puller Highway. We hope to minimize easements along there since the right-of-way is wider and it's not encumbered with a water main. So we think we can get that in there. Currently, we've identified up to about 10 easements that may be required as we extend the county low-pressure system up towards the airport. And then a couple other potentials along General Puller Highway where properties get kind of close to the roadway. Next slide. The schedule for completion of the environmental assessment is about 90 to 120 days. The final environmental assessment will incorporate revisions based on the comments received. So we'll develop the environmental assessment. One good thing with the previously submitted environmental assessment is we can recycle some of that information. So there is an economy of scale with the water system following on the heels of the sewer system. So we are getting a break on the cost for that. So the scope, we will prepare the environmental assessment, and it's got to be prepared in accordance with federal guidelines because there's EPA funds associated with the Clean Water Revolving Loan Fund. Includes coordination with DEQ and completion of the Clean Water Revolving Loan Fund environmental review checklist. The EA will be reviewed by the Tidewater Regional Office, and we've already initiated the contact with those persons. They've provided input on what they're looking for, so we should be able to streamline this process. We'll submit the project and supporting documentation through the review process, and it will include contact with several federal and state agencies, DEQ, Department of Historic Resources, Fish and Wildlife, VDOT, Department of Interior, and I think there's a couple other, HUD might be involved as well with respect to community impacts, and then the county will have an opportunity to review this. The body of the environmental assessment will include purpose and need of the project, a description of the proposed action, alternatives to the proposed action. So we have to look at other potential alternatives in case, we're not getting any easements or adversely affecting any property. They want to make sure that we're not building the road and bulldozing a bunch of houses. So those adverse impacts will be minimized in conjunction with the alignment we've selected. They also want us to address the affected environment and environmental consequences. And that's where the long-eared bat, we have to do some revised documentation of how we're going to minimize that impact, and that's going to limit the time of year restrictions that we have for clearing at the pump station site, if that's applicable. And then we'll have a listing of the agencies and the persons contacted with our description of the project, and then we'll get a response from them to determine if they are in concurrence with our environmental assessment and any supporting documentation. And then there will be a public information notification and outreach process that we will embark with that. In the previous proposals that I've submitted to you, we have included some cost for wetland delineation and obtaining a joint permit application from the Corps of Engineers. That was included in some of the prior proposals. This is a little bit of a different beast. It's more involved, and it will incorporate the stuff from the joint permit application, but it's a little bit more involved in getting a nationwide permit from the Corps and VMRC. And the cost that we're looking at for this is $29,500. Next slide is the table that we've seen here previously. I think some of you have seen this before. I made some revisions to this. I've added a line for environmental assessment. The prior version that you've seen of this, under topping, the last go round of this, we had the design cost for topping at $435,000. So I've broken out the environmental assessment. That was an estimate for last month, since we had just gotten some comments from DEQ. So we've sharpened our pencil, and that overall price for topping has gone up $4,250. So we're requesting authorization to proceed with this environmental assessment to meet the requirements of DEQ to get the Clean Water Revolving Loan Fund at a discounted interest rate for the project. And with this, I'll open it up to any questions.
Any questions? So for clarity, you're requesting
2,000.
approval of an increment of $4,000 over.
4,250 over what I had referenced in this table last month. When I approached it, I was requested to give all in cost. I talked to the environmental folks. They had just gotten some comments, and they said it'll be about 25,000. So that's where the 435 came last time. So I've separated out the environmental assessment, and it's actually come in a little bit higher than that.
Gotcha. Is there anything else that you need?
No, just authorization to proceed with this, and we'll get started on it. And we will provide a copy for the county to review before we submit it to DEQ. The folks in Richmond who administer the program, we'll give them an opportunity to review it and comment on it. But Mike Crocker and the program administrators are going to defer to Deanna in the Tidewater Regional Office, who handles, review of these day in and day out. And she'll provide the detailed comments and approval.
So this will be the long-eared bat amendment to our prior authorization. So I'll entertain a motion to increase our authorization by $4,250.
This amendment is, the price that I had before was 410 that we've been authorized to proceed for, and I was asked for the all-in cost. So I'm asking for 29.5 to get us to a total of.
For the full environmental
Yeah,
assessment.
yeah.
Clarified 29,250.
Correct.
So may I have a motion to approve 29,250 for the environmental assessment?
I'll make a motion to
moved.
approve the 29,250 for the environmental estimate.
Thank you, Mr. Jesse. Second by Mr. Coons. Any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Harris,
Aye.
Mr. Williams, Mr. Jesse,
Aye.
Mr. Coons,
Aye.
Mr. Kimbrough.
Aye. Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank
Ken.
you.
All right, moving forward, going to buildings and grounds, I actually have two items. One, the infamous water leak. We have found it. If you want, it's right outside at that window, but no, we located, it's an old 2-inch pipe. Don't know how long it's been there, but, we'll have it repaired this afternoon or first thing tomorrow, so.
This is
Hopefully
the
that-
one that Supervisor Jesse could hear and nobody else with his.
See? Huh? And actually, we divined it and found it. So yeah, that's a good thing. And the second item is, we all know at Cook's Corner, HRSD is about halfway through that project. They're stockpiling all material. They've given us access to that material. Of course, they're going to keep the clean fill jet for back material, but they've given us access that in case we need it for anything else. So that's a good thing. Any questions on buildings and grounds? Wonderful. All right, moving forward on
Just a
capital
quick question, Charlie.
projects. Oh, go ahead,
Quick
John.
question. Yeah, do we have any metering on any of our facilities that would tell us anything of leaks, or are we exclusively on wells and have never had the need for meters in any of our facilities?
Actually, yes, we do have meters, and as a result of the water bill continuously going up and up and up month over month, that's how we realized we had a leak. So, and it was major too. It was when we uncovered it. I'm surprised it wasn't more, but yeah. So we'll get that.
Can we talk offline,
moving on to
Charlie,
capital
about looking into an audit?
Absolutely.
Thanks.
All right, moving forward, capital projects, the only one I have there is a pool renovation. And we're moving forward with the detailed design. In our last meeting, we presented the executive summary, the fact that we were going to probably have to use ground penetrating radar to confirm that we had reinforcement in the masonry walls, exterior masonry walls. We've gone back, we've gotten a price of $7,800 to perform that work. They'd like to get that done so that they can conclude their report and then move forward with the detailed design. And again, Mr. Harris, I apologize. I don't have a resolution or anything in front of you, but I'd like a motion to increase their line item for that cost. Let's see. Yep. Their line item was $10,500. They went to $18,300. So it's a total cost of $100 to perform that work. So we can complete the structural analysis for the building and move forward with detailed design.
So this is a authorization against the total capital cost for the Fuller Center renovation.
Yes, sir.
May I have a motion to increase that phase?
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Harris, second by Mr. Jesse. Any further discussion?
I do have one other question.
Mike.
The structural part of this fell under soft cost, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And just for the fact that I don't have some of that in front of me currently. Because I can't remember the soft cost, did we itemize within the soft cost all of that to come to a total of 321?
Yes, sir, we did.
Was there not a category for what's the word I want? For the event that anything in the soft cost went up, that we could pull from any of those budgetary items?
You mean like a contingency?
Yes, thank you for the use of the word.
Yes, there is a contingency, I believe, but I'd have to go back and confirm.
Okay, so a motion's just been made and seconded for the increase, which we got to have the structural engine report of that additional money. Would you check?
I'll follow up on that. Yes,
and
sir.
see if there's any margin. Yes, we're going to approve to go forward with the 18. So I guess my question is, if we've already budgeted 10.5 and we're going to go to 18.3, is there a margin within that soft cost analysis to cover that. Does that make sense?
Yes, sir.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate all your hard work, Charlie.
Thank you.
Does that answer a follow-up question or is that
I'm ready for the,
not yet?
I'm ready for the question to be called.
Any other discussion? Okay, roll call, please.
Mr. Williams,
Yes.
Mr. Jesse,
Aye.
what was that?
Aye.
Okay. Sorry, Mr. Kuntz,
Aye.
Mr. Harris,
Aye.
Mr. Kimbrough.
Aye, motion carries. I've also just been informed, Charlie, that Jeremiah Burford has joined the meeting electronically,
Oh, wonderful.
I believe.
Jeremiah? No, John's in the poll. Kevin is, can you see if he's on? He's-
still at his computer or phone. Maybe somebody can
Jeremiah, are you available? We're ready for you to speak.
Thank you, Jim.
He dropped off. so
Oh,
Maybe he's having technical difficulties.
That's a possibility.
He just dropped out.
Well, hopefully he'll rejoin us. If not, that's all I have for now until Jeremiah rejoins us. Let me give him a call.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, moving along. Our regular agenda items. Next is citizen appointments, page 120 in the packet. This is a report only. As you can see, there are a number of open positions on many of these boards, and we need to get some applications in. Next is the budget supplement request.
did we want to get Jeremiah if he just came on?
Oh, is he back?
Yeah, he should be available.
Rather, Jeremiah, if you're on, can you speak?
Yes. All right, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, great. Sorry, I got double booked and I apologize for my delay on attending the meeting.
Okay. Charlie, did he have a report for us? Is this a?
I understood this was a quarterly report.
Yeah. Jeremiah, this is a quarterly report, correct? Why am I looking?
Yes. Yeah, I was asked to submit the Gantt chart.
The floor is yours.
Okay, so I submitted two scheduling reports, one for Cook's Corner and then one for the Middlesex Transmission Force Main project. The Cook's Corner project, we're making good progress on the gravity sewer install and the pump station install. We have ran into some change conditions that we weren't aware of during design, and we're working through those right now. But we have currently we have a change order for approximately $185,000, which will eat up majority of the contingency that we laid forth when we initially approved this project, leaving about $4,000 in the contingency fund. So I would foresee over the next month or so that there's going to be a request for additional appropriation for this project, knowing that there could be potential change orders to increase the contingency of this project. Right now, I don't have a number. I'm working through that to see what I would be requesting over the next couple weeks. But the project looks like we're going to meet schedule of mid-July, beginning of August for completion of the project. And then we have the transmission force main. We are looking to advertise those projects as a group in April of this year, as long as we can figure out this. We have a DEQ issue with the storm drain at one of the pump stations that we're looking to install. So as we're working through that issue, we may have to go through a redesign. That's not a cost of the county, but that's just the requirements of the project. And we may have to do a redesign of that pump station to increase the height by 2.5 feet so we can do appropriate drainage on the site. So we are looking at mid-April in about a month and a half for advertisements. But we would be looking at the latest May to advertise this project if we can get the design up, corrected and on the street. It doesn't affect the construction schedule as much but we're looking at a 60-day bid and approximately another 2 months until notice proceeds. So 4 to 5 months. We're looking to start construction after April, May timeframe. So end of the year, where you should be in full-fledged construction mode for all 3 of those projects that we have on the street or that we're working in Middlesex right now. And then there's the Lagger project, which is the transmission force main going to Deltaville, Parsons Lane. And that's looking to be advertised at the end of the year and be completed at approximately the same time as the rest of the transmission force main. And that should tie nicely into Timmins' schedule for their Deltaville expansion. Those are the current updates for these projects. Any questions?
Thank you. Any questions or comments from Charlie or any supervisors?
I got a quick question. Was this information on the HRSD developing schedule, which lists the, I'm sorry, I'm looking at you and I'm thinking I'm looking over here.
You're looking at the Gantt chart, right, Don? Just so
Yes.
Jeremiah can see what we're looking at.
Yeah, that was supplied and that was not initially in our packet. Is that correct?
Oh,
That's not in your packet, correct?
And this, Jeremy provided this, so we're assuming this is accurate from a time scale?
that was accurate of about 3 weeks ago. We do a monthly update on the charts, so we'll go through another cycle of scheduling updates in the next 2 weeks, and I'll continue supplying an updated chart as it becomes available to the board.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Any other comments or questions for Jeremiah? Very good. Thank you so much for joining us, Jeremiah, and for the update.
Not a problem. Thank you.
Next, we have budget supplement request.
Mr. Chairman, before you go to that, could I just backtrack a second on the appointment memo that
Sure.
we all have? I'm just making sure I understand this. Mr. Wells has resigned, so his spot is open, and the vacancy for Wetlands Board alternative position is vacant, correct? And then underneath that, upcoming term expirations, I'm not quite sure where we fall with these 4 people that are here. Is their term, it says, and let's just take the top one, Kristen Smith, 6/30/23. Does that finalize her unlimited term, or is that?
No, sir, she's resigned. It's now her resignation.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, I'm just going to backtrack a second. Robin Wells, for the Pine Top District. Are we looking to replace somebody for the Pine Top District?
Yes, the board.
Is that correct?
Yes, sir. We need someone to finish the remainder of his term. And then there's another term that will be coming up, but we need at least someone to finish his term because he resigned effective February 28th.
Do we have any prospective people or applications for that?
That would be a question I would ask. My understanding is, and administration can weigh in, we don't have any, normally administration, we keep like a binder of applications of people who have, and to my knowledge, there are none for these positions. So the question, I would turn to the board and ask if you've had anybody or sought anybody out.
Okay.
We don't have anyone pending in our book of fighters.
I can weigh in briefly, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, Matt.
The planning department staff as well have generally run into people along the way that wish to serve in one capacity or the other. They may be beneficial to chat with you about potential prospects.
Okay, that's all the questions I had.
All right, thank you. Moving on, Anne Marie, to the budget supplement request F 2023-28.
Thank you. The first one up, 2023-28. You can see that Trent Funkhauser is still here. That's because this one is the ARPA tourism grant. That was $120,000 that we were eligible to receive. It was a flat amount specifically for tourism-based activities. He has presented a set of expenditures that he proposes for that. So unless you have any questions, he's here to answer them. But other than that, it is a grant that is being spent in accordance with the grant.
I'll make the motion to approve FY 2023-28 budget supplement request form.
Seconded.
Motion by Mr. Harris, second by Mr. Jesse. Any further discussion?
Mr. Jesse?
Aye.
Go.
Mr. Coons?
Aye.
Mr. Harris?
Aye.
Mr. Williams? Mr. Kimbrough?
Aye. Motion carries. Thank you. You can go right into number 29.
Thank you. This second one, the second 2023-29 is an expenditure of current year opioid funds. Now, as you know, we appropriated approximately $36,000 in the next year's budget of funds from this year. However, there was a need for right now for the sheriff's department to expend certain monies on police opioid supplies. The sheriff's department, Mr. Sergeant Hertz, Corporal Hertz has been working up this program to spend not to spend opioid money, to protect people who are, I know that sounded bad, but to reverse certain effects of opioid, as well as training to, it's about desensitizing or demystifying substance abuse disorder and harm reduction. So anyway, at this point, he has asked for specifically $3,085 of the current year opioid funds to be appropriated for his use, for the sheriff's department's use. And we of course recommend that.
Can I ask a question, Mr. Chairman?
Sure.
So based on what I see here for a request form, I'm assuming that the sheriff's department did not have any type of budget for any supplies that they would need previously.
For opioid, this is a new source of funding, and they started this program when they found out. I presented this to the sheriff's department and to the social services department probably about 6 months ago. And I said, we will be getting in $29,000 or so this year. Please let me know if you have something that can be specifically used out of these funding sources. Corporal Hertz started preparing this program. He already did spend some funds, I think, in the prior year on this program, but these are specifically eligible to be used for opioid funds. And it is to our benefit to use the opioid funds.
these are coming from that lawsuit that I've mentioned a few times, the bankruptcy settlement. So they're not, this is directly from that bankruptcy settlement.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir. I did, yeah.
So we'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion that we approve FY 2023-29 budget summary request form.
Second. Motion by Mr. Jesse, second by Mr. Williams. Any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Coons,
Aye.
Mr. Harris,
Aye.
Mr. Williams,
Aye.
Mr. Jesse,
Aye.
Mr. Kimbrough.
Aye. Motion carries. Thank you. Next, Anne Marie is the health insurance renewal.
Is David Rose not here right now?
David is on the line. Can you hear me?
I'll go ahead and kick this. I'll go ahead and kick this off. As you can hear, our benefits consultant, David Rowe, is on the line to bring forth to you the 2023-24 health insurance program. And I will, you know what, I'll go ahead and let you take it from here because we did get our rates last week. I think I presented to you what they all were going to be, but now Mr. Rowe is going to present it to you.
Okay. Thank you, Anne Marie.
David.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Very good. This is really a follow-up to my presentation at our last board meeting in February. Anne Marie, are my slides up? Are you driving today?
I'm pulling them up right now. If give me a second.
Sure.
Because I can't remember where they are. Give me another second because
It's okay.
I was thinking he had something else to present. What I have
I'll buy
is
Anne Marie a little bit of time while she's looking for those sides, if
Thank you.
I can, Mr. Chairman. When David Rose finished and Anne Marie has her piece, then I'm going to follow on with a discussion of what I'm calling the Pathways program, and that is the board's decision to maybe move to a high deductible plan and offer a new base program or base plan. So I'll probably wrap everything up and then hopefully David will stay through that and be available to ask any specifics, benefit related type questions. One thing I would say, Mr. Chairman, I've noticed that when I'm running my camera, I have a lag and I don't know how well you're receiving me. I'm going to leave that camera off from now on if I can, sir.
That's fine. We hear you loud and clear.
Yeah. Anne Marie, do they have a copy?
Yeah, I'm hearing John from Nepal without a lag, and I have one, so it must be the video.
Anne Marie, do they have a copy of my slides in their board packet? If so,
no, we
I
didn't
can
get them
just
in
go
time for your board packet, which is why I'm trying. I thought I had saved them on the hard drive here and they're not popping up.
Okay.
David, you could share your screen though if you'd want.
Yeah, I'm in the car, Matt.
Okay.
So if you guys just give me one more split second, I won't.
Anne Marie, I think I sent that to you. I emailed that to you maybe yesterday, if you could find it in email.
That's what I'm doing. Yes,
Yep.
sir. I think this is it. I just resent it to myself. That won't do me any good, but forward to. Let's see if this is it.
And you know, Anne Marie, it may have come from Matt Fritz on my team instead of me thinking about it.
It did.
Yeah.
It did. And it didn't send the right one. Word. Huh.
Anne Marie, I'm
Well,
happy
would it
just
be
to talk through this if I need
Look
to.
at what's in the packet.
All right, let's go ahead and talk through this because again, don't know where it is.
Okay. Yeah, so just a quick update from my presentation at last month's meeting. We have two medical plans that we offer our employees. We have a base plan, and today we fund that base plan for our employees at 100%. They get that at no payroll deduction each month. We also allow our employees to buy up to a richer plan, and they pay the difference. We fund the single rate for our base plan at 100%. You can add your spouse, your full family, you pay the difference. You also have the ability to buy up to a richer plan. Again, you pay the difference each month. What I shared with the board last month, that if we continue that strategy, if we continue to fund our low option plan at 100% for our employees, we were going to experience an 8.89% increase in healthcare cost. And that was going to mean an annual increase in cost to the county of $58,788 based on current enrollment. Okay, we would still fund our base plan at 100% for our employee. Employees can bring their spouse, their children, their full family. They pay the difference, or they could buy up to our richer plan and pay the difference for that. I was asked to prepare a scenario that Matt just referenced. There appears to be an interest in sponsoring a high deductible health plan. We can certainly do that. And the scenario I was asked to prepare would be that we fund the high option plan, the buy-up plan at 100% of the employee-only cost. And what that would allow the county to fund a health savings account each month for those employees that enrolled in single coverage in our high deductible plan to receive $252 a month or $3,024 a year to fund a health savings account against a deductible of $3,000. So what that really means is our high deductible plan would be free to our employees every month, plus we would make a $252 a month contribution into a health savings account. And so in essence, we would be fully funding their individual deductible for that high deductible plan. People could still buy up to more of a traditional plan. With the funds that the county would be expending, those employees would also have a plan that would cost them nothing per month. And of course, they would have the ability to bring along their spouses, children, full family, and pay the difference in that funding. If we go this route, if we fund our buy-up plan, offer the high deductible health plan, and make a contribution, a $252 a month contribution into a health savings account, the total increase for the county over current scenario would be $119,280, which represents an 18.04% increase. And I know that's probably tough to follow along without a visual in front of you. Matt, do you want to weigh in on that?
Yeah, I want to see if the board has any questions regarding the benefits or anything of that nature, and then I can weigh in a little bit.
So what we're talking about is the potential for 23-24 having the high deductible health plan. And then what's the secondary one? The Key Advantage 250 or Key
Yes,
Advantage
yes, sir.
500? What's the second part of that?
Key Advantage
Yes, what?
250 was the plan that I was asked to price. Yes, sir.
Our deadline is April 1st, as I told you all, as I may have mentioned earlier. That is, by April 1st, I need to have two options for the health plan. If we stuck with what we currently have, which was the 250 and the 500, that's one option. But in order to continue to reach the high deductible health plan, what he just presented was to go with the Key Advantage 250, right? And the high deductible health plan, which are these two
Correct.
programs. With the difference
Correct.
between the two going to the okay, I see that. That's a different, how do I make that get big? That's not what I want.
Can
Is
y'all
that- is
hear
that-
me okay?
What we want him to do? There it is, Matt. Yes.
Can y'all hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay,
Yeah.
very good. So this illustrates
Yes.
a little bit of what Dave had just kind of outlined for the board. So what we're proposing to do, and if I may, let me go back a couple of months. You'll recall the schools recently gave a bonus to employees that the state wanted them to give, basically. So they just fulfilled what the state was asking them to do. And they used ARPA monies to fund that bonus. We had discussed back in the fall about the potential of the board wanting to do a bonus for county staff. And it was determined at that time we would prefer to do something towards health insurance, perhaps funding a high deductible plan and a health savings account. So we've been working towards that. And as Dave said, we can only offer two plans. Right now, the majority of our employees are on the Key 500 plan, about 52 of them. And we have 19 on the Key 250 plan. So what we're proposing, and I guess I'm proposing along with administration, is that we use our remaining ARPA funds to the tune of about $247,000 funds remaining to partially or help fund this increase for the employees' health insurance. And I say it that way because the employees under this pathways plan, as I call it, would have two choices. We would only allow or only offer our two plans, being the Key 250 plan and the high deductible plan. So we would, in a sense, abandon the use of the Key 500. The 52 employees that are on the Key 500 plan would have a choice. They could go to the Key 250 plan at no cost to them. That employee contribution would go away, and we would fund that employee contribution with ARPA funds. So it would be no cost to them. Or they could choose a high deductible plan. Now, the cost for those two plans, you'll notice, or excuse me, the cost for the Key 250 plan is $916. So to keep everybody equal, we'll offer $916 as the core health benefit for our employees only, and they will have two options. Either go with the Key 250 plan or the high deductible plan. Regardless of which plan the employee chooses, the cost to the county remains the same at $916. However, you will notice the high deductible plan has a substantially lower premium. It's $664. And that's where we come up with the $252 contribution on the part of the employer to that employee's health savings account. That will help make them whole should something happen and they need to tap into their health insurance and, have a, fairly high deductible covered. I'm going to stop there because I want to see if there's any questions we can answer regarding that before I move on. But one key takeaway from what I just said, we would propose to use the ARPA funds to cover the cost of upgrading the employees to the 250 plan or shifting those employees who choose to the high deductible plan and fund their health savings account.
Any questions? I know everyone has studied this quite a bit prior to the meeting, but any questions for David or Matt?
So after this year, where will we be on what the cost will be to the county, and how will we fund that after the next 23-24 budget?
It's a very good question. You'll notice that we'll have approximately $81,000 or $80,767 left in the ARPA funds that we could choose to bring those forward and pay for or help supplement the cost. Or, we're confident that we got fairly robust and organic revenue growth where we can cover the cost. The additional costs year to year, once ARPA monies fall away, we don't think are significant enough that will cause us pause and not be able to meet those.
David, while we have you here, could you just summarize the benefits of if we were to go forward with the 250 and the high deductible plan, could you just summarize the benefits so that everybody has a common understanding of making that choice?
Absolutely, Lud. The high deductible plan is a consumer directed plan. It is a true qualified high deductible plan other than preventative care. So if you go in for an annual physical, colonoscopy, mammogram, pap smear, whatever the preventative service is, Anthem would pay that at 100% under both of these plans. Other than that, medical or pharmacy care would be subjected to the $3,000 deductible if you're a single person, or $6,000 if you cover either two or more people, until your deductible is met. Then it becomes an 80-20 plan. Anthem pays 80% of their allowed charges. Our employee would pay 20% of the allowed charges until our employee hit a $5,000 out-of-pocket maximum as a single enrollee, or $10,000 if they covered two or more people. I think it's important to note, as Matt was saying, the $252 a month difference between the premium for the high deductible plan and the buy-up option of Key Advantage 250 is $252 a month. Times 12 months, that's $3,024 we would be giving to our employees in the health savings account. The deductible is only $3,000. So we would be more than funding their deductible if they went with the high deductible health plan. I think it's also important to note that the dental included with the high deductible plan is identical to the dental with the 250 or the 500 plan, as is the vision. So the big difference is how the medical and pharmacy benefits are administered. The Key Advantage 250 plan, the second option under this scenario that we would offer our employees, is more of a traditional plan. insurance. There's a copay when you go to the doctor. There's a copay when you go to the hospital. Everything has a fixed dollar copay associated with it. And the out-of-pocket maximum for that plan in network is $3,000. So again, the folks that are going to gravitate towards the high deductible plan are going to understand that $3,024 that the county is providing them in a health savings account every year satisfies their deductible, but that money also rolls with them from year to year. There's no use it or lose it provision. It's really some of the most beneficial tax advantage money that you can have. As long as you spend that money on qualified medical, dental, vision, or pharmacy expenses, you don't pay federal income tax when you put the money in, and you don't owe federal income tax if you use that money. So it's a pretty smart way to save for your future.
And segueing, Dave, into the IRS and the tax ramifications, it's our understanding that, and it may be age dependent, I believe it is, that a typical employee would have an IRS, HSA, or health savings account limit of $38.50, I believe it is, per year.
That is correct.
So, and I think the older you get, you may be able to contribute more to it without incurring any kind of tax for the IRS. It's my understanding you can contribute, as much as you want. You're just going to pay, I think, a 6% tax on anything over the $38.50 or something to that effect.
Yeah. So,
but that kind of
for a person who elects our single only coverage, if they are under 55, they can contribute $3,850 pre-tax. If they cover either dual or family, $7,750. And anyone who is age 55 and above can tack on another $1,000 as a catch-up provision.
Right. So that kind of brings us to the final part of this spreadsheet. If the board wanted to use some of our ARPA money as an added incentive for employees to shift over to the high deductible plan, then we could seed the accounts on July 1, 2023, $413. And that coupled with the $252 a month would max out, it's prorated for half a year, that employee's $38.50 IRA contribution. Likewise, on January 1st, 2024, we could pump another $826 into that account, and coupled with the $252, that would maximize their calendar year 24 $38.50 IRS match.
And Matt, you're exactly right. Yeah, you're exactly right, Matt. This is a calendar year or a tax year benefit.
So it really comes down to how
Just for clarity on that.
attractive. Yeah, go ahead, Lud.
Matt, just for clarity on that, is that decision, I would assume that decision is part of our budget discussions and not part of the decision we need to make tonight as to what plans we offer. Is that correct?
Well, partially. We have the budget for all practical intents and purposes balanced. These funds will be brought in from ARPA to, I guess, fund this program, if you will, fund the increases. So it's part of the budget. What we would do if the board wanted to move this route is bring those ARPA monies into the budget as a revenue and probably show this as a health pathways program on some line item to make sure that we, implement it in one uniform fashion. And we just, it basically affects both sides of the budget at once.
And we do start getting people to sign up.
Anne-Marie.
What time is open enrollment? Is May 1st? I was going to say open enrollment is before the fiscal year starts. I think open enrollment is May 1st to the 15th. Is that correct?
Yeah, Anne Marie and Lud, what we would need, I would just need to know prior to April 1st, which two plans you're going to offer and how you plan to fund them. Whether or not you fund, give seed money to an HSA, that you don't have to tell me that by April 1st. Anne Marie, the technical open enrollment is from May 2nd through May 16th this year.
Okay.
But my deadline to let
relevant.
the state, my deadline to let the state know what Middlesex County is doing is April 1st.
And the only reason why the HSA contribution, the additional contribution is relevant is because when people are making that conscious choice of which program to go with, they would want to know what the plan
Yeah,
is.
we need to decide that before the enrollment. So the concept behind the using ARPA to seed the HSA would be there's usually a reluctance and a fear of people to take on a higher deductible obligation unless they understand that the higher deductible could be funded without, in essence, they could make the transition and their risk would be, actually, there is no risk if it
Be
were
fully
seeded and
mitigated.
fully funded. Because, the deductible would be fully met by the contributions to the health savings account. Correct.
That is correct, Lud.
And if I may add, and we got still a little bit of a lag, from a budgetary position, if the board wants to implement a high deductible plan as part of its health insurance offering, this is perhaps the best year to do it because we have monies available to fund the initial implementation and potentially, as you see on the screen, fund a good portion of its implementation the following year. So we have the funding available to do it, provided to us through the ARPA funds. Whereas in years to come, if you decide to do this, we'd have to come up with local funds to pay for the implementation of it. Once we get this implemented and we just have all the employees on the $252 a month savings account contribution, the need for the seed money, the need for the other things pretty much drops away. They just have this simple choice. Which plan would you like? Unless it's something the board wanted to continue. And that's really all I had to say, Lud. We can answer questions if the board has any. But we feel like this is a pretty good pathway forward that implements the high deductible plan and actually gives the employees a pretty good, solid choice on how they want to take their health benefit.
David, I do have one question. I know it's impossible to predict what's going to happen in the future, but have the premiums for high deductible plans generally increased at a greater pace or a lower pace or the same pace as the fully insured plans, or is there any kind of a trend there?
Yeah, good question, Lud. You all you're composite rated. So what you'll see is that, the 250 plan and the 500 plan that we have today went up at the same rate. The rate of increase was the same. So that's what we would anticipate for years moving forward.
And I don't know if you noticed, but that is his presentation back on the screen. I've been flashing back to that one, where it says renewal option. That was his presentation.
I understand what it is for this year. I'm just trying to understand the ongoing impact of having a greater subscription to the health savings, to the high deductible plan.
Yeah, and
Would
let me
expect the increases parallel?
Yeah, and I think we have a lag, but let me address that. Remember, we are a group with the state and Anthem with less than 100 employees on our plan. They do not look at our experience. They do not look at how much money our employees spend on medical and pharmacy claims. They will look at what the pool experiences, and then they look, and that's how they set their base rate adjustment. And then the factor to that is, is Middlesex County older than the pool that we're a part of? Are they more heavily female than than the pool that we're a part of? But for groups our size, they do not look at our medical spend.
I got a couple questions, Mr. Rowe. And
sure,
looking at the HSA account, does that accumulate any interest when you have the money there setting aside?
That's it. Is this Mr. Williams?
Yes.
Yes, sir. Great question. What we would do, Reggie, we would choose a third-party administrator to manage this for us. Our employees would have a debit card, a MasterCard or Visa branded debit card that they could swipe and pay for services at the doctor's office, at the pharmacy, that they could pull out of their health savings account. Typically, depending on the vendor we would choose, typically the threshold is $1,000 balance until you can start having, investment options. Or interest bearing. So typically it's about $1,000 that they're going to want to see in the account because some of the vendors even allow, this is investment money for many people. Lud, I think you've been on, had an HSA before. And I know that's how they work.
And in case you already got a HSA, can you put the money directly in that account?
Yeah, you could, Reggie, it's your bank account. I think it's important to point out to the board as well, if we make a $252 contribution to an employee's account today and they leave tomorrow, they take that money with them. It's their bank account. So Reggie, they can absolutely, transfer funds into this account if they chose to do that to consolidate potentially 2 HSA plans.
Once you renew, say you take the high deductible and 6 months later you change your mind, can you go back to the 250?
Yes, sir. Every year at open enrollment, and we do our open enrollment in April and May for a July 1 effective, they could move back into the traditional plan. And that money that is sitting in their HSA could be used to pay for their medical expenses on the traditional plan, or even their family members' expenses that were not on our medical plan. So again, the way to spend the money, as long as it's for qualified medical. Yeah, go ahead, sir. I'm sorry.
No, what I'm saying is you start out on the high deductible plan, you change your mind and you want to go to the 250. Can you do that in 6 months or you got to wait a year?
No, sir. You would have to wait until open enrollment next year to make that change.
And they sound pretty good. The 250 sound pretty good, and the high deductible sound pretty good. Just both of them sound pretty good. You just got to make a choice. And it's something that Don said earlier, and it's probably up to the board. He said, well, how are you going to fund these in next year? And it sounds pretty good because really you're funding both programs to make them $1 equal, but I know they're not exactly equal. They're just 2 good programs all together, and we just got to make our mind up as a board what we want to do. Hey, thank you. I think I understand it pretty good. The drug descriptions, now when you go to the pharmacist on the high deductible, you did say something, what is the difference between the 250 and the high deductible if you go to a drugstore to get drugs?
Yes, sir. Great,
because
great
that's
question.
A big cost.
It is. And again, under the traditional plan, the 250 plan, if that's the way we end up going, you have flat dollar copays for your prescriptions. They're either 10, 30, 45, are $55. You can take a $10,000 medication a month, and the most you're going to pay under the 250 plan is $55. Okay. Under the high deductible plan, there are no
Well, I got you.
copays. You're going to pay Anthem's allowed charge for that medication. And that's when you become a good consumer, because you ask, hey, what would this cost if I ran it through Anthem? And oh, by the way, also run it through GoodRx to see what GoodRx is. But remember, Reggie, we're going to fully fund that deductible for the employee. So to me, it's a great, to me, the employees are going to have two good choices if we go this route. Those that are pretty savvy and understand the value of that health savings account are probably going to choose to go in that direction. Those that maybe, for whatever reason, want a traditional plan, they'd have the traditional plan available to them. I think they both, as Matt said, would be, excellent options, both at no monthly cost to our employees. Two good options for our employees.
The other question I got, in case they want a separate drug prescription plan. I know they're not very expensive. Say they take your high deductible and they know the drugs are, they cost right much, and they want to buy a drug prescription plan. What would that cost?
Well, again, I think what you're thinking of, yes, sir. I
whatever you
think
call
what
it.
you're
Do
thinking
y'all
of,
sell
Mr.
that?
Williams, are you referring to like someone on Medicare who gets a Part D prescription drug plan?
Yes,
That
it's
may
similar.
be
Yes.
what you're thinking about.
It's similar,
No,
I guess, but I
sir.
know you can buy supplements too.
Yeah.
They don't offer that, you can't buy.
Yeah, no, sir. There would be a prescription drug benefit. It wouldn't be a copay. You would just pay Anthem's allowed costs for those medications. So again, part of the whole process involves education. And my recommendation would be, if we're going to implement this high deductible health plan, we need to do mandatory meetings to explain this. Because if we explain this to the employees, I think we'll get good participation in our high deductible plan. If we don't, I think people will see the $3,000 deductible and they'll be scared of it if they don't understand that we're going to more than fund that deductible by the county for our employees. Education will be the key to this being successful.
Now, I just got one more question.
Yes,
If
sir.
we had a budget, and in that budget, can we use that money to pay a person deductible if they need it in the plan? In other words, you got a pot of money. You say the county put up, I don't know, $500,000. You put everybody in insurance. Somebody got to go to the doctor, whoever go to the deductible. We set up the rules that they can guide on and draw out of it. If it's a $3,000 deductible, we go in their pot and take the money out and they'll pay it. That means they will basically have zero deductible. I'm just wondering, is it anything like that?
Well, I think, Reggie, the way Matt explained it was pretty explanatory. You all would have to make a decision if you would want to front load any of that deductible, maybe for the first time that we offer this. But again, I think what we want to do is make sure that we're treating everyone the same. And by giving everyone $916 a month, whether you want to use that toward insurance cost or whether you want to take part of that and have the county put it in your bank account for you, I think we need to limit what we're doing to that $916 a month. Matt and Anne Marie, you agree with me?
Yeah, I think that's one of the reasons why we start off with a pot of seed money, if I'm using that term, the 413 in July 1st and then the 826 in January, just to help those employees make that transition into a high deductible plan so they don't get caught flat-footed with an unexpected expense and then them not have the ability to cover the deductible. So with the 413 plus the 252 the first month, they're going to be up at do the math, 667, something like that, 665. And then the following month, it will go up that much more. another $252. So as the months pass by, the likelihood of that employee getting caught flat-footed and having a $3,000 deductible whammy them is less. But there is that transition period. And again, not to say you don't or you can't, you can fund the account more. It's just the employee is going to have to pay taxes to the tune of, I believe, 6% on anything over the 3850 or the 1925, half the calendar year being gone, that the county wishes to put in the account. And that may be a detractor for some.
Mr. Roy, Mr. Roy, I kind of understand what's being said pretty good. And it's pretty much that the 250 is pretty good. The high deductible is pretty good, but I'm just looking pros and cons that someone asked of it. And I know we put an account aside. It don't show out, the key 250 is basically costing people to have it extra money to do it. Probably $65 a year with a total of about $800. So if we look at the pot of money, we're doing it, but we're just shuffling it in a different way. And I'm just trying to see what's better for a person. You could take age groups. If you take age groups, for instance, you get older, which your deductible you're gonna take is based on your health. So what I'm saying, I understand the fixed numbers and all of that, but I'm saying that something Don said earlier, how we're gonna fund it to next year, which is not in this plan. And we got to see that. And I'm seeing it as it's a good 1 year tech. And then from that 1 year, if we can be healthy and build about $3,000, because I know you can put more money into the account too. And I know you can take it off your taxes. But my only thing was on the high deductible was the extra description plan of the drugs. Are you going to the drugs to buy drugs? Because that's higher than anything else you buy. And that's the big ripoff. I'm kind of surprised that they didn't in high deductible kind of like wipe that out. Now I know the reason for the cost. I would think, and I don't know for sure, that a person can buy a drug description policy. And the drug description policy would be a whole lot less, and they could take the money that was allocated for them and still come ahead, So, hey, I appreciate you putting the policy together. I think both of them are good. I think high deductibles work. And that's all I got to say. But my questions, is just looking at some things just a little teeny bit different as far as cost and equality. Because if that's not, it's not there, numbers seem what they appear to be. It seems like it's $916 and $916. As I said before, it's $916, but they are not quite as equal. They are selling insurance that a person can get by a risk factor, and the ones that with the high deductible, yes, we got to be educated ourselves. They're taking more a factor in, and they're paying for it in the cost. So it's pretty interesting how Matt and Anne Marie and yourself had put it together. And I'll be honest with you, I appreciate it. And I've got some people that call me about it that work for the county, and they like the high deductible. Of course, most of them are young. I don't know how the older would feel when you get to 60 years old or 58 or 59. So then you got to make a choice. Other than that, you put $3,000 in your pocket this year. And if you don't have to use it, you're in good shape. And you did say the a pre-existing condition that you can go to the doctor. And that part is very educational, that if we decide to go with these two plans, it's very important. So I appreciate all you've done. I appreciate you coming here and bringing this plan to us. And you basically don't have to explain to me no more, because I got an idea what I'm gonna do anyway. So thank you once again.
Thank you, Mr. Williams.
Throw this Don here. So I have a question for you. This April 1 date that you need to let the state know.
Yes, sir.
Is that consistent every year, somewhere around April, whatever?
It is very, very consistent every year.
Okay. So next year, we'll need to do a little better job on deciding what we're going to do and not do with our health program prior to where we're setting it today.
Well, and I'll tell
we
you,
didn't get the
Don.
rates.
Yeah, Don, unfortunately, I think Anne Marie is trying to help me out here a little bit. The state was very delinquent in approving these rates for Anthem. So we were about a month behind where we should have been. Nothing Anne Marie or Matt or I did, just, we were dealt the cards we were dealt by the state. I hope things will be better next year, but I'm not going to bet on it.
Well, and it's interesting on this presentation I'm looking at, it says the state has indicated that no extensions will be granted. That's a pretty hard road when you're late getting the information to the counties to make the proper decision. And then the state says, oh, by the way, we're not going to give you any leverage on extension of this. It makes it a little difficult to operate.
It's a tough message. You know, I agree with you 100%. Any other questions I could answer for any of the board members?
Someone like
Matt, Anne Marie, what are our next steps?
Of the
I think the board's got to make a recommendation.
Okay.
Mr. Chair, could I make a motion?
You may.
I'd like to move that
John.
we include the high deductible plan.
We need to select two plans, or we have the opportunity to select two plans. Would you like to include two plans with your motion, Mr. Coons?
I just want to include the high deductible, and I got lost as to what the other two remaining options are. Is it the 250 versus the 500?
Yes, sir. Administration made their recommendation and that's, yes, sir.
And what was the administration's recommendation again? Please refresh me.
To adopt the Pathways program, the high deductible plan offering, and the Key 250 plan offering, funded.
Thank you.
Increase by ARPA.
That is my motion, is the follow staff's recommendation.
I'll second it.
Motion by Mr. Coons, second by Mr. Jesse. Any further discussion? Roll call.
Mr. Williams,
Yes.
Mr. Jesse,
Aye.
Mr. Coons,
Aye.
Mr. Harris,
Aye.
Mr. Kimbrough.
Aye. Motion carries. Thank you. Thank you, David.
Thank you all.
And Mr. Chairman, before David exits the building or gets off the Zoom call, Anne Marie, David, and I will sit down and come up with a pretty robust offering of employee meetings and consultation sessions. So we make sure we do a good job, as David had said, of educating the employees on the benefits of a high deductible plan or the Key 250. That way we want to make sure we really do a good solid outreach with this.
All right, thank you. Next, Anne Marie, you have one more.
Yes.
Section here on the Roth IRA.
In addition to the retirement plans offered by the Virginia Retirement System, we offer employees the opportunity to contribute to a 457B deferred comp program. The county has had a relationship with Nationwide for this since about 1993. This year, and I've been here doing this for 2 years, this year, 2 employees requested the addition of a Roth option. The Roth is the after-tax version of the deferred compensation. It doesn't cost us anything to add this. It's purely on the employee. The Nationwide brought ahead a contract to do this amendment, and ergo, I request board approval of the restated contract, which now allows for a Roth 457B deferred compensation plan. Questions?
I don't
Do you need a motion on that?
Yes, please.
Oh, yeah, I'll make a motion on the ROC program because it costs the county no money, right?
No, it's all on the employee. It's all on the employee. And if the two employees who asked for it don't participate, cost me nothing.
Is there a second?
Mr. Kunst did.
Second.
Great. Okay, motion by Mr. Jesse, second by Mr. Coons. Any further discussion on offering the Roth IRA?
I just got one question. I should have asked it at first. Can you put money in it that's not coming out your check?
No.
This is an after tax. All right, roll call, please.
Mr. Kunz,
Aye.
Mr. Harris,
Aye.
Mr. Williams, Mr. Jesse.
Aye.
Mr. Kimbrough.
Aye. Motion carries. Thank you. All right, moving right along to finish up this first session agenda, administrator updates, cigarette tax. I don't know if there's any commentary there, page 154 of the packet. The staff report is all in the packet.
And administration does have a request. I get two requests. Matt, may I take the Pride of Middlesex question,
Oh, absolutely.
or did you want? Okay.
That's fine. Go right
Um,
ahead.
This year, in prior years, Middlesex County Board of Administrators has purchased a table at the Rotary Club Pride of Middlesex Honors this year. On April 1st, they are honoring Greg Chambers. And as part of it is related significantly to his work he's done on behalf of Middlesex County and the water lines, we certainly would like the opportunity to purchase a table. At this point, we normally ask the board if they would like us to purchase a table for the Pride of Middlesex, or two.
Yeah.
Is it
Yes.
a motion or consensus?
I can make a motion on it, or whatever you want to do. I like motion, they can make a motion that we purchase the chair for the Pride of Middlesex for Greg Chambers, that is. Well
That we put at the
deserved.
table, is that what you said?
Yep.
Okay.
Motion by Mr. Jesse, second by Mr. Williams. Any discussion?
April
I'm just
1st?
gonna abstain
It is
because I'm gonna abstain. I'm very supportive, but I am the MC, so it would be weird to vote yes.
Well, he doesn't, the good news is he doesn't need a seat at the table. He's got his own seat. I'll go, you asked a question. You asked where it was. It was going to be held at the Deltaville Maritime Museum. The happy hour and hors d'oeuvres start at 5 p.m. The program starts at 6:30 on April 1st. Right, it starts, no, I'm sorry, it starts at 5 o'clock. I have a form for you. I mean, I've got one of these for you, so I'll give you one of these. Anyway, I guess roll call.
Please.
Thank you. I knew that. Mr. Coons abstains. Mr. Harris?
Aye.
Mr. Williams? Mr. Jesse?
Aye.
Mr. Kimbrough?
Aye. Motion carries. Thank you.
Okay, my second one is along the same lines. Every year you purchase a table at what used to be the Mardi Gras. Thank you. And now it's called the Run for the Roses. This is being held on May 6th. And normally, I mean, I could have waited till next month, but I figured since we're doing both of these to purchase a table for the Run for the Roses, if I could ask your permission to purchase one table for the board members. And
I'll
that's,
make
I'm
the
sorry, that's
motion
the
that-
Middlesex Kiwanis Club, Run for the Roses. It is a fundraiser for it's their annual fundraiser.
Mr. Chair, I like purchase a table for the Run for the Roses, for the
Second.
Kiwanis.
Mr. Jesse is a first,
Second.
Motion by Mr. Jesse, second by Mr. Williams. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Williams,
Aye.
Mr. Jesse,
Aye.
Mr. Coons,
Aye.
Mr. Harris,
Aye.
Mr. Kimbrough.
Aye. Right, any other administrator updates?
That was it. Thank you.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
the only
Attorney-
thing I had,
Attorney,
Bud, was just real quickly, alert the board that their next budget work session was at 9 o'clock on Tuesday, March 21st. Just want to make sure everybody's got that on their calendar. We should be able to put the budget to bed that day and send something out to public hearing, barring any unforeseen abnormalities. That was all I had.
Okay, got it. Thank you. Anything else? All right.
I do not have anything to add beyond what my report that's included with the staff reports.
Great, thank you. Very helpful. Any unfinished business? Any new business? Matters presented by the board. Would you like to kick off, Mr. Jesse?
we did have the fire department did raise oyster roast, and that was very successful. And also I did attend the Oyster Festival Foundation Board meeting, and business as usual, getting things together with sponsors and everything like that. And that's it for my committee report.
Nothing to report.
Mr. Coates, anything to report?
Witnessing a lot of water, sewer, and broadband projects in Nepal.
Okay. Mr. Williams.
Well, I might came in the wrong place. I'm not sure. Last month, I got Ms. Diggs to bring to us about relief for the elderly. And it's been at $500 for the last, I guess, 25 years. Ever since it started, there's never been an increase. And I think, that it would be proper to have some type of increase the amount for the elderly and disability at this particular year. It's been averaging around 95 participants. And it's been in existence about 15 years, and it's been $500. I think it would be good to show the elderly that we at least thinking about them in a years that we are increasing everything out of sight. I mean, so that's the only thing I was looking at. I don't know if that's the right place for it. I was by talking to Ms. Diggs today, and I asked her what would the impact be if it go from 500 to 750 based on the numbers that you have. And she said approximately $28.50 a year. And I have been getting some calls running into the elderly, and some of them really need help with the increasing the tax bills and real estate and stuff like that, because they're on a fixed income, and some of them they're only getting Social Security, So I think it's about time for us as a board to do something. And that's just the numbers that I got out,
What did was this the impact of going from 500 to 750?
It's $28,250. And then if you go to 1,000, it doubles.
Can we
But
make a
haven't done
motion
anything
in
since
this,
it
at
started.
this juncture?
No. No, that's something that's going to
I'm
require.
fully in
I
support,
apologize,
Reggie.
Mr. Coates.
Yeah, no
That's going to
worries, Heather. I'm
require.
fully in support, Reggie, and I would just ask that we bring it to the board next month and look at it very seriously with the Commissioner of Revenue and the Treasurer, and look at the options. And Heather, of course, you would have to look at legally, if that's something that comes to the board, or is it just the purview of the Commissioner of the Revenue. But I think we could have that all sorted for next month's meeting and be able to respond to Reggie's constituents and mine, and I'm sure the constituents throughout Middlesex County that are elderly and probably need this relief as a result of inflation more now than ever. And we probably should have looked at this 5-10 years ago and should look at it on a recurring basis. So my ask would be that we just be prepared next month to take action.
And if I could
I'm
add to
good.
that
I'm good.
just real quickly, Mr.
Good.
Chairman, I've already started presuming we would do something along those lines budgetarily. So as long as the board adopts what they need to adopt with May before July 1st, I can have a budget built on the premise that it would have went into effect July 1st and move accordingly, because it's a relatively small amount. It's going to be very easy, I think, to accommodate. That was all.
Thank you. I just want to add some clarification here. There are things that the Commissioner of Revenue can do, and then I believe there's an actual ordinance at the board. And so I apologize. I know that was abrupt, my no, but that was there's a little bit of a process, and I need some better understanding from the board so that I can be effective in my this. You would like to increase the elder relief from $500 to $750. Is that on real estate?
Yeah, real estate.
Real estate. Okay. And is that the consensus of the majority of this board to direct us to prepare that for next month? I just need a consensus. I'm getting
just
a nod, some nods.
For clarification, Heather, I wouldn't say it's just researching from 500 to 750. It's doing the research to see what latitude the board has, what latitude the commissioner has, what the impact is in terms of ordinances, what it takes for us to be able to pass an ordinance or change an ordinance if necessary. Just tell us what levers we have to pull and how far we can pull them, because we may find in some research that shouldn't take very long that we've either fallen very far behind in addressing this, or that we're right with everybody else. But at any rate, we want to know what we can do to address this. And I think that's what we're asking you to look into. So it's just a minor thing, not 500 to 750, but to change it from 500 at all. What is the process and who has responsibility?
Thank you, John. I appreciate that. Yeah, I was going on that pretext. I know Reggie had mentioned that different monetary number. I wanted to make sure I understood that so I can give you the whole picture. But yes, sir, I will look into that and reach out to the commissioner's office, and we'll get to work on getting you some options, and we'll do our best to have it to you for the next month's meeting.
Great, thank you.
I can ask a question after hours, so to speak, but is this a request that's made by the elderly, or are we talking about across the board scenario?
My understanding is it would be upon request is my understanding, because there's
That's the way it is currently, correct?
yes, sir, that's my understanding, that you have to apply for it. You have to call and ask. Yes, sir. Because
I think it.
Yeah, sure. Absolutely. Thank you.
And I'm out on a limb with Heather on this one. I think you have to qualify and be elderly. You can't be, Thurston Howell and qualify.
And the qualifications are
Exactly, yes,
fairly the qualifications are fairly well in black and white by your financial situation. So I would also ask Heather and administration that the treasurer and the commissioner of revenue be available next month for this discussion, should it occur, if they are available and willing.
Roger that.
Okay, thank you. I have nothing else to report. I will open the meeting for public comment. Anyone wish to address the board? I'll close the public comment period, and I will call the meeting into recess. We'll reconvene at 7 o'clock.